Hi, my name's Andy Schmuckler. I want to tell you why I think that we should approach this election as if we saw a potential for a blowout. Now, everybody says it's going to be close, 2 or 3%, this or that. Okay, they may be right. And it's probably the way people should speak about this election, because not only might they be right, but if that gets people more motivated to work harder for a victory, all the better. But I think that actually there's a non-trivial chance that this could be a blowout. And that chance should be pursued. It should be pursued because if we can get a blowout, that will help America get back on the right track much more than a narrow victory. And because we have a potential there that if we don't see the potential and don't campaign on the basis of that potential, we're going to forfeit an opportunity for a real transformative moment in America, a phase shift. And I say that we should believe in the possibility of a phase shift in Trump America because we can see that something extraordinary of a phase shift took place just in the last 10 or 12 days in the Democratic world. Nobody saw what emerged like a tsunami of passion and hope, and where there had been dread and despair. Overnight, even before Kamala Harris started showing that she was actually going to be a very good champion, even before that, extraordinary things started happening. And that's a clue. It's a clue that Donald Trump has had an impact on the American body politic, which he's worked assiduously to divide, that created such passions and tensions and discomfort that a phase shift could take place, something the likes of which happened in the democratic world. I'm not aware of anything like that any other time in any other democracy. Maybe somebody could point to something. I don't know one. Nobody saw it coming. So when people say, oh, it's going to be close, why are they saying it's going to be close? Because they say, oh, he's got this 45% or whatever. He got 46% in 2016. He got 46% in 2020. And now he's got these percentages in the polls. And then there's the axiom that there's nothing that can shake the loyalty of the Trump followers. He could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue. Well, it's obviously been true that he can shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and not lose any support. I mean, he's been doing that and worse sort of continually. But one can run a campaign that attacks him in another way and then reduce his support. His shooting somebody on Fifth Avenue, that's a sign of his dominance. I can kill whoever I damn please, and I will still have that force behind me that gave me the presidency. Strength. But what if he isn't seen as strong? And that's what I went into in the previous video just a little while ago about how there's a part of a lot of people in conservative America who, because of the way they were brought up as children, have this a wound that has to do with what they experienced when they were weak. It gives them a real appetite to identify with power. So yeah, okay, I may not, a lot of me might not believe in murder, but if this guy shoots somebody on Fifth Avenue and I'm looking for strength, well, maybe I'll continue to support him because he's confirmed with that shooting that he's got the means to fight the things and people that threaten me. The people I'm afraid are going to dominate me, replace us, or whatever. So he can survive shooting somebody on Fifth Avenue, but he can't survive being made to look small and petty and damaged and weak. So far, in the sparring between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, she's shown a lot of dominance. If you got something to say it to my face. I know his type. Donald, I hope you'll reconsider standing toe-to-toe with me on the debate floor. Make him look weak. Either he debates her where she'll go toe-to-toe, and it looks like she'd be able to do well, though we've never seen anybody defeat Trump in that setting. I would put my money on Kamala to come out on top. Well, most of us are eager to see that. And I think she's eager to do it. But she would be the first. But meanwhile, in the back and forth, Trump seems to be humiliating himself with his boorish behavior and his racist lies. And she seems to be scoring off of them. Them, like with Vance too. Weird. Make them look contemptible. The fascist appeals by being a powerful fist. If in the ring he keeps on failing to land his blows and absorbing hers, he's not going to be that appealing to the people who have been seduced into supporting his destructiveness because they identify with the way he asserts his power against their enemies. Should be acting like it could be close, but that's really the same as acting like, let's see if we can get as much as possible of the American body politic to completely repudiate fascism once and for all in a blowout. They're the same strategy. The people in the middle, they will respond to his being made to look small and contemptible, worthy only of the scorn that Kamala has been directing to him. So you don't have to give up going for the close election by also going for the blowout. America has had a dalliance with fascism that's not gone adequately opposed for the last 30 couple years. It's just been rising and rising, and until now, we haven't gone toe-to-toe with it in the way that we need to expose it for what it is. Kamala is doing that. I think that should get all kinds of support and reverberation in the democratic world to help bring down the ability of this would-be strongman to seem more than he is, which is a terribly damaged human being who isn't even able to confront reality, isn't even able to behave like a decent human being, as contemptible as a person can be. Same strategy, same energies. Maybe it'll be close. But if the democratic world had so much tension in it that it could have this cloudburst of radiant passion, maybe the conservative world that supports Trump is embodying tensions too that can lead to a phase shift. After all, in addition to the seduction by power and the desire to identify with that kind of warlike power that asserts its will against the other, in addition to there's also that there are within those people, and I know this from 10 years of doing talk radio with them, a lot of sincerely held values that are the opposite of what they're supporting in the political world. That's a tension. I don't know exactly how you trigger that tension, but if you combine showing Trump for what he is with also calling to the good angels of their nature, maybe we can get that phase shift where good people who have been part of conservative America for generations and their grandparents, not supporting evil like now, that those good people are led to come back to the values that in their political lives, to let go of looking to the political process to get their vengeance on wrongs that are mostly imagined, that are the result of not being able to confront the traumas in their actual emergence in a world in which strength was used at the expense of those who were weak. That kind of brokenness is there in the conservative world. All over the world you can see evidence of there being that kind of issue. Liberal parties have their own contrasting way of making mistakes. But human perfection isn't found on either side, but there's a vulnerability on the right that is exploited time and time and again, like in India with these Hindu nationalists, in Israel with these Jewish nationalists. There's a kind of brokenness that arises on the right that allows otherwise good people to align themselves with evil. Well, we've got that version of that. And that's a tension between this is really stuff they believe in, and they're supporting the opposite. So I imagine that there is in that tension, there is a capacity for the same kind of phase shift. From the Democrats, we went from, oh my gosh, Trump is actually likely to win the presidency in November when Biden refused to withdraw from the ticket, to overnight, we can win this thing. That's a big phase shift. What would it look like in the Trump world? Well, one thing is the diminishing of him, showing him as something that is not at all godlike. That's as effective as people get. I've been trying to do that in my op-eds. I don't know that it works. And then there's the other one that I think Kamala Harris is doing, to go toe-to-toe with him and to score off of him, and to score off of him by dealing with him with a kind of a scornful smirk. I know his type. Donald. He's afraid of her. I think he can feel the floor is moving out from under him. There's been this big movement in the polls already. Is it just the Democrats coming home to roost? Well, it's probably mostly that. But I think it's reverberating through the body politic. And I don't know what limit there is to how people might awaken from this bad dream of a world in which somebody like Donald Trump, who's done all that he's done right in front of our eyes, might actually get elected by the American people, that the American people might actually choose fascism. Something wrong with that picture. The America I grew up in, that would not have happened. We really need to understand better how people got moved in that place. I've offered a couple thoughts. But in any event, I'm looking to Kamala to unravel that seduction, exposing it for what it is, diminishing it, and offering a more positive vision that appeals to good people. It's been extraordinary in my mind how the good people that I talked with in the 1990s could support a political party that, for example, when Joe Biden became president, we were in the midst of, I guess, 3 or 4 major crises: pandemic, economic, more than that. It was really a time where the value to the nation, if the two sides could do their best to work together to accomplish good things to get us out successfully out of those crises, the payoff for that versus just dealing in obstructionism was huge. It was obviously a time when bipartisanship was absolutely what the nation needed from the opposition party. And I've marveled that, I've pointed that out in op-eds. And I've marveled that it doesn't seem to produce a ripple out there. At least it washes back to me. I mean, if the nation clearly needs bipartisanship, are you going to support a party that is manifestly choosing to make everything a matter of political combat, a struggle for power, no interest whatever into what can we accomplish together that would serve the American people well? It's a puzzle what the state of consciousness is that makes it possible for people with some intelligence to witness this choice that the Republicans made right at the time of Biden's inauguration to just fight him every inch of the way. And what did that look like to the good people? Did they not see it as the indefensible thing that it was? Or is there something in them that makes them think that fighting is much better than cooperating? And there you get to some other kind of brokenness that is sometimes in the conservative world. But it's also mostly on the extremes world, both right and left historically. The people for whom conflict is really the mode in which they are comfortable. And I spent time in Berkeley in the late 60s, when Reagan was governor of California and the Vietnam War thing was going on. And I could see that the anti-Vietnam War movement included a pretty substantial wing of people that are being conflict, not looking for compromise. But in our time, that's not been a problem because all the issues, the Democrats have been pushed back and back, and we're then, the ball's getting snapped inside our own 5-yard line. So this conservative world has undergone a psychological restructuring that involves some kind of seduction, just to use that word, that could create a system in their minds in which they really hold these values sacred. It's not like they repudiated those values, though some Christians say Jesus is old hat, too weak. But mostly they don't repudiate those old values. They just, at the same time as they continue to sincerely hold them, they also are supporting something which represents just the very opposite. That is a psychological structure, which is a rubber band that can snap, and we can get a phase shift, and it's just a matter of figuring out how to do it. That's the place in the conservative world where a phase shift can be triggered. One, by making him look small, and the other as exposing him as contrary to their values. Though, like I say, that's what I do, and I'm not sure it works. A combination of messages could work well together. Fight for that. And I feel like we've been awfully fortunate if what I just discovered about Kamala is true. We are awfully fortunate that she's got the skill set that she has as a communicator in the composition of the words and the delivery. She's able to speak emotionally from a fairly broad palette. And she prosecutes. I had no idea she had that in her. So far, she's been A+ at the game. Showed a lot of strengths that conceivably could make a blowout out of this race by inspiring people on the right to come over to the side of the good, and by turning people off to the Trump and the ugliness he represents. Thank you. Subscribe, like, follow, and check out where I try to show an integrated picture of the destructive forces that are at work in our world. This is a little piece of that, struggling to infer what the forces are at work in the human, in the body politic, that it could produce that out of the Democrats, and to conjecture that that's a sign that something might snap in the Republican world. If you want to see how I put a lot of different pieces together, the work of 54 years now of creating a better human story. It's an integrated vision of why we have a human world that's uglier than our nature. Anyway, I lay all this out systematically, if you're interested to know if it can be shown, at my website, abetterhumanstory.org. And I'll be back when I have something else to say about this extraordinary moment in our history, where I think we have a possibility of a time of spiritual conversion, in a sense, of the nation, of a decisive turning away from the abyss toward which we've been heading. And I'd like to see us try.